I'm Megan Hamilton, and this is the Embracing Enchantment podcast. I am so excited that today I get to finally share the live episode we taped on March 8th, 2025 in Toronto with the fabulous Lori Dyan, aka Tarot Lori. You'll notice that the sound is a little bit different as we were in a live studio environment celebrating International Women's Day with the Women in Media Network, which is where this podcast lives. But before we get to that, I want to make sure I tell you about two important things. One, I'm running something new called the Magic of Aliveness, which we're calling 7 Weeks of Enchantment, that begins on my birthday, April 8th. So if you're catching this before then, or even around that time, as you can catch up on the emails, I've got a link in the show notes that you can check out. And number two, I want to introduce you to another witchy podcast called the Bell Witch Podcast, hosted by a fabulous human named Swales. Check this out, and directly following is our episode with Lori.
Ooh. Welcome to the Bell Witch Podcast, a show that covers the infamous legend of the historic Bell Witch haunting in southern United States in the 19th century, where the Bell family experienced frightening happenings within their home. Hang on a second. No, that's the wrong Bell Witch. This is a podcast about being a witchy pagan in the 21st century, airing bi-weekly, with different guests on each month sharing their pearls of wisdom and gems of knowledge from their very own witchy businesses. I call it a moot loot. Here we cover a wide range of pagan and witchcraft related topics, from sigils, spells and spirits to Reiki rituals and pagan parenting while camping in the Bell tent named Delilah. It's got nothing to do with the Bell Witch from the 19th century in Tennessee that scared people to death in a little townhouse, which may or may not be true. Pretty cool story, but yeah, it's the wrong Bell Witch. This Bell Witch podcast is brought to you by Swales, the friendly green witch from Leeds, UK. A northern witch with a strong Yorkshire accent, a love of all things weird, spooky, magical, and a smelly dragon named Dave. So tune in every 2 weeks for a sprinkling of Yorkshire magic. Listen to the Bell Witch podcast with me, Swales, a friendly green witch, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our second Women in Media taping of the day. How are we feeling? Are we kind of awake, almost in an evening mood? Okay. All right. We can work on that. My name's Sarah Burke. If we've never met, I'm the founder of Women in Media Network, and we're doing live podcast tapings all day. And without further ado, celebrating International Women's Day with the second show of the day, please welcome Megan Hamilton of the Embracing Enchantment podcast. And you probably know her as Tarot Lori, Lori Dyan.
Hi, everybody. Yes. I'm going to take a minute to put down all my stuff, but I wanted to start off with a little bit. We have an incredibly special guest here today, as you well know. And I wanted to let you know that I'm so happy to be here today celebrating the achievements and perseverance of women and non-binary folks. Let's give it up. Yeah. So you are in for an incredible treat with today's guest. But before we get to her, I need to acknowledge the talent, the grit, the tenacity, and the beautiful heart of Sarah Burke. Little did I know how much goddamn inner growth I'd be signing up for when I pitched this podcast concept to her back in the fall of 2024. I was adamant that I create the artwork behind this podcast. Have you all seen it? It's really good, isn't it? I had nothing to do with it. This is all Bree Ron, who is also in the audience today. And can we give it up for them, please? I don't even know how many things I submitted to you, but I think it was like 50. And you were like, I think it could be just a little bit better. And I'm like, oh my, I hand painted something. And I was like, this is the one. She's like, I think maybe we could get a designer to work on this with you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But obviously we made the right choice. And I'm so glad that everybody is here. And so once again, can we please give it up for somebody who is not afraid to keep pushing me and all of us toward doing better and being better, and who has become a dear friend, Sarah Burke. I love ya. Okay. So, as my guest is wont to say, I manifested today. Back when I was pitching this pod, I had a vision of doing a live taping in this exact room, and my guest was part of that vision. I was first introduced to her from her agency's Instagram page mentioning her book deal for Burn Your Shit. I believe I wrote the comment, oh, fuck yes, and then followed her immediately. And as it goes sometimes, she just so happened to be coming to Kingston, Synchronicity, where I live, on her book tour to do a reading and a Q&A and an in-person Instagram live. How many of us have done a Burn Your Shit live on Instagram with Lori? Yes. Right? Okay. I am such a fan of this hilarious, beautiful, funny, and very smart woman that I hired her to create a workshop for the small business program that I run. Please welcome Lori Dyan, also known as Tarot Lori. How's it going, Lori?
Yeah, hi. This is fun. I want to do this every day.
Okay. Can we make that happen, Sarah? So, as some of you might know, one of the first things I like to do is shuffle and pull a card just to set the tone, get us in the mood. And Lori, okay, I got to tell them this. Lori's first book, Burn Your Shit, which I have a copy of up here, did so well that it sold out almost immediately and had to have a second run. Like, how flippin' bananas is that? Yes. And we have another one coming.
It's true.
Yep, in June. And I'm wondering if, while I shuffle, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So my second book is called Big Deck Energy, The Life-Changing Wisdom of Tarot. And it is also coming out with HarperCollins. It's on June 24th. Pre-order is available now. And it is honestly everything I've learned since day one with tarot, which I've been doing for over 30 years. This deck that I have with me today is almost 35 years old. Every reading I've ever done is in that deck. And everything I've learned from readings, which I'm still learning. I mean, I did a reading this morning with a lady, and I don't know where she was, but I'm not that kind of psychic. But, you know, I'm still learning, just interacting with the cards in different ways every single reading I do. So this book, Big Deck Energy, is that. It's more than just Tarot 101, because y'all can get that online for free. It is my interpretation of tarot. It tells you how to choose a deck, how to cleanse a deck. Do you need to cleanse a deck? It talks about different astrological signs, how they can fit in with tarot, how to create a spread, how to ask questions. It is everything you ever needed to know or didn't even think you needed to know about tarot. And what's really cool, which one Ms. Jan Arden figured out, because she's now my chief marketing officer, when I was on her podcast with Sarah and Caitlin, is she had the book with her in Springbank, and I was in Burlington, and she just flipped open to a page where in the back where there are the definitions of the cards, and then that was the card for her. So you don't even need a tarot deck to use this book, which I thought was genius of Jan.
So genius and so smart. And I have a passage from that book that I want to read in a second, because I think it really speaks to, the spirit with which you bring everything, which is super funny, but very badass. And also like, you're going to fucking need to tell us what we need to know. Like we're not getting away with anything. Lori's like, actually, right? Like as you do with your, when you do your Burn Your Shits, when people send you a question, you often reframe it. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about why?
When I do my reframes, Now I understand, honestly, it's channeling. I'm a writer as well. That is my background. So at first I thought, I'm compiling and condensing because people send me shit to burn, and I we'd be there for a week if we were reading every single one. So I'll sometimes condense them. And then I started sort of rewriting them, kind of refining them. And then it was like going down, drilling down even deeper and deeper. So for instance, someone might send in, I now choose to release 10 pounds from my ass. And you're like, nah, that's not it, babe. And so a reframe of that might be, I now choose to release being at war with my body. How about them apples, guys, right? So it's, with Burn Your Shit, with tarot, with everything I do, my intention is to inspire, empower, and enlighten. I don't want you abdicating responsibility of your lives to some random lady with tarot cards, right? It's more about empowering yourself to make the best decisions for yourself moving forward, to heal yourself, to expand and ascend into the greatest version of yourself. And that's what, I'm covered in goosebumps, guys. That's what often happens with the Burn Your Shit, is that it's like I just tune into an energy that just, I don't know. I write stuff. It's like when I wrote Burn Your Shit and Big Deck Energy, I write stuff and I think, where'd that come from? What is that? So
divinely
like the non-answer answer.
Poured in. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to pull a card now.
All right.
I'm going to tell my interpretation of the card, and then Lori is going to tell her interpretation of the card. Okay. So, what's the card for the audience today? The Hermit, which is the card of the year, right? The Hermit is the numerological card for 2025. And I like to think of the Hermit in two parts. I think of the Hermit as going up, bringing your books with you, gathering all the things that you want to have with you, being alone, studying, researching, that sort of fun period where you're really immersed in what you're doing and there's nobody around to bug you and you're just sort of happy doing your own thing. But then there's a second part. There's the alchemizing the knowledge into wisdom. And that can only happen when we interact with other people, when we come down, when we shine our light of wisdom to share it with other people. And so I think that is what we will be focusing on for this year, certainly. And I think actually that's probably why this card came up, is so that we have the opportunity to tell you that this is the year of the Hermit, but also to think about what you can share, what your lantern is, and what you want to be spreading out around. What about you, Lori?
I love that interpretation, Megan. That's beautiful. My interpretation is y'all got to meditate more because the guidance you're seeking is within you, and it's very difficult to access those parts of you that have the answers to the questions when we're stuck up in that superficial layer of life. Feed the dog, get the kids, do the thing, buy the stuff, blah, 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 blah. So it wants you to just step away from all the busyness, disengage, unplug, and go within, whether that's meditating, yoga, fishing, gardening, go for a walk, leave the phone at home, whatever it is. To just take that time to give yourself the space to access those parts of you that have the answers to the questions. And if you don't have a thing, you need to get a thing. And if you put the thing down, just pick it back up. It's fine. So that's my thing. But they're both, yours is much more eloquent. Mine is more bossy.
I love it. We need the bossy. And it reminds me actually of Glennon Doyle's book where she talks about, have you read, what's the book I'm talking about? Yes. Going in the...
I've lived untamed.
Mm-hmm. Going in the closet, being dark, and just like letting that wisdom come to you, right? Yeah, tapping into your intuition. Mm-hmm. Okay, can I read a passage from Burn Your Shit?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. When Lori came to Kingston, actually, I'll show you all. When Lori came to Kingston, I had pre-ordered the book, but I hadn't got it yet, so I brought my book plate.
Remember that. I remember.
And I had her sign it. So that's what that was. Okay. Here's a passage from Lori's book. And so this one is about rituals. And I just love this passage so much. And it's real short. And then I'm going to move to another one. And Lori is also going to be selling this book after the podcast. So make sure you go and grab one. Rituals are woven throughout our days and nights like a gossamer thread. They're crucial. Not just for making magic, but for living life, which I think is one of, One my favorite things about how you read tarot is it's not just like, okay, well, you better be careful of this, or coming in the future is money, and all that. It's like, we're going to get into the shit. We're going to talk about what's important. You might need a little kick in the ass, and I'm not really afraid to tell you about it. But I'm going to do it in an uplifting and a supportive way, because we use tarot as a tool.
Absolutely. And that's a ritual is a tool. Tea leaves are a tool. Crystals are a tool. And with tarot, it's very much, tarot tells the story of you. And every challenge, every opportunity can be guided or informed with tarot. And then what you choose to do with this message or information is up to you, because you have free will. So I always tell people in readings, anyone ever claiming to be psychic who says, if you don't do this, this will happen. Blah, say goodbye to the dog. Blah. That's ridiculous. It's not. Yeah. It's not meant to be fortune telling. It's not meant to be, prophecies. It is the cards are not magic, but they can be very magical.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, and then the second passage I want to do is from the new moon. It's from manifesting. So new moons are a chance to claim what you're ready to manifest and commit to the desires, ideas, and actions required to get you there. Although you can manifest on any day of the month, doing this ritual on or around a new moon delivers an extra infusion of lunar energy to your intentions. Do you want to speak a bit to that?
Sure. I mean, I always say in my readings that you have to pull the weeds so you can plant the seeds. And pulling weeds, you can't clean a house in the dark. So we can't just be like, I am wealthy, I have a wonderful relationship. Like, that's lovely, but that's not going to do anything. So you have to, look at what needs to be unclogged to allow that abundance in whatever form to flow into your life. And so when you pull the weeds, that's releasing what no longer serves you. And when you do that around a full moon, because the full moon reaches the peak of its energy and then lets go, we're harnessing that lunar vibe to give it all a little extra juice. And then with the new moons are all about planting seeds. It's new cycles, new beginnings, fresh starts. So to do that, manifesting, the really thinking about not just what you would desire, what you're ready to bring into your life, but also considering the work that needs to be done to help get you there, or to the new habits or rituals that you can start implementing in your life to support yourself for success. And if you do it again around a new moon, it just gives it that little extra juice. Having said that, you can also do it on a random Tuesday. It's not going to make things worse. It's always going to, no one feels bad after burning their shit or sitting and manifesting. And you can't manifest when you're dysregulated. You can't be intuitive when you're dysregulated. And doing something like a burn your shit or release ritual is something that can help you regulate yourself, because you are acknowledging what is holding you back or what is just not sitting right with you, and bring it to the light, not being ashamed of it or scared of it. It's like the weight loss thing I said earlier. It's not just like, I want to fit those jeans. It's like, I want to love my body in the moment I'm in right now, because it is this beautiful vessel for my soul,
Love that.
And that's a different way of thinking, and it's a very empowering thing. So these rituals, do them whenever you want. Burning your shit under a full moon is pretty sexy. It's pretty fun.
It is. And I think, when I started doing manifesting on the new moon and releasing on the full moon, one of the things that I loved about it was it kept me intentional, because there's something out there in nature that's reminding you of, oh yeah, I need to check in with myself. I need to figure out, what the fuck do I want? Because I remember when I first started doing this work, years ago, I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna manifest something, and then thinking, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
I haven't allowed myself to sit down and really think about what I might want. And so the new moon and the full moon, those cycles that are there in nature, let you be intentional and remind you to check in with yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful monthly reminder, and you don't have to, if you miss a month, that's great. Miss 6 months, fine. There's always going to be, God willing, a new moon and a full moon coming next month for you.
Yes, love it. So tell me what your favorite card is.
Well, I have 3. And I always tell people this. My top 3 cards, the first one is the death card. And that is because it is transformational change. And it is just this, what makes it so scary and yucky for people is their relationship with change. But whenever I see the death card, I get excited because it's change that's coming. The Band-Aid's coming off. So whether it comes off like hair by hair or really quick is sort of up to me. Love that card. I also, okay, now you're quizzing. Here's something y'all need to know about me is I've had my deck, like I said, 35 years. If you ask me what the 7 of Swords is, I don't know. Like I could not describe what the 7 of Swords looks like, but when I see the 7 of Swords, I'm going to talk about the 7 of Swords. So I think it's the 9 of Cups, Mr. Fat and Happy. Like the guy who's sitting there.
Nine of Cups,
all the cups. It's either 9 or 10 of Cups. They're all lined up behind him, you know, and it's all about dreams coming true, wishes granted, needs met, desires fulfilled, getting to a place of being perfectly content, yummy, delicious, right? And then my 3rd favorite card is the Sun, which is just about...
Who doesn't love the Sun?
Right?
It's
loving, nourishing energy. It's a lucky card for me. That's the thing, too, with tarot that's really fun is that you develop a dialogue with your deck over time. So the cards that... all of the original sort of interpretations of the card are there, and I often will bring them up in readings if I feel it applies. But you're meant to develop your own dialogue with your deck, and they can go in these different directions. That's just fine. Like when someone's learning tarot, they should take the Tarot 101 interpretation. Let's say they're reading Big Deck Energy. Sure, look at my interpretation, see if that resonates. But like, how do you feel with the deck or with that card? How are you connecting with that card? That is just as important, if not more so. So
100%.
My answer is 3 cards.
I love it. Okay, 3 cards. That's abundance right there.
Right?
And so, do you pull cards for yourself?
I mean, with card of the day every day, I do. Well, every weekday because I need my weekends. But card of the day started. I would do it for myself, and then I started putting it on, you know, Instagram, just in stories because I was nervous to put it on something that would last. And reels weren't even a thing when I started doing it. And so I don't pull it, like I didn't pull a card today, which is a Saturday. But every so often I'll just be like, oh, what's that? Oh, interesting. And if I'm at an event and people are sort of giving me a side eye because they're sort of looking at me leery, you know, I need that one butt in the seat and then there's a lineup, but the brave person has to sit down. I'll sometimes just, you know, to show people what I'm doing, I'll pull a card for myself and be like, oh, damn, all right, tarot, I get it. So it's not anything I'm really like adamant about doing every day. It doesn't have to be done every day. But half the time when I post card of the day, I think, why am I even posting this? It's obviously just for me, this message. It only applies to me.
Well, it's funny because I actually often feel like that card is exactly for me when I see your cards that are coming up. And as you know, often I pull cards for myself every day. One of my cards will be the card that you pulled.
I love when that
Banana
happens.
Town.
Every day I get a message, at least one message, if not multiple, from people saying, oh my God, I pulled that card too.
Right? There you go.
So cool.
So speaking of, should we take a tarot question from the audience?
All right.
Okay. Sarah with the floating mic. Anybody got a question? Yeah. Okay. Oh, you're wearing an Only Jan shirt. Oh,
She's an Only Jan.
So fun.
So it's not necessarily a tarot question, but I have a conflict every time I see something about like channeling, reading something, and all of that because my mind is very scientific. So I have that struggle, like, ooh, energy and stuff going out of nowhere. Embrace the enchantment. Could be like, you know, that fight between heart and brain. Let's just say it, you know, science and like the jujus or whatever is in the air that I don't really believe. So whatever you could talk about it.
Yeah. Do you want to pull a card for that question?
I mean, I don't even need to pull a card for it. I'll pull a card for you, but I have thoughts. And, you know, my tagline is woo without the cuckoo because I get it. I am like that. I can be very cynical about things. I take what I do very seriously. It is my profession, but I'm not precious about it and I'm not goofy about it. You know, like we already talked about the fortune telling. There are certain things that even now I'll say, all right, how is that possible? Like, really? And then something will happen. You think, wow. But, you know, there is so much in the world that we cannot see, yet we cannot deny. And I think it's just about opening up to that. You know, it's opening up to like when you get the goosies about something, right? Yeah, or you feel just called and compelled to do this instead of that, or you have a feeling about a person, you pay attention to it, and then you look back after in retrospect and go, damn, okay, wow. That's tapping into that sort of cosmic flow, that collective unconscious, that energy that is beyond what we can tangibly touch or measure. So I think it's just looking at proof in the past to help you have faith about the stuff that you can't see. Does that answer your question? I feel like it's a bit of a word salad, but
Yeah.
but do you sorry.
Yeah, no, you go.
Do you meditate? Do you feel really off when you don't?
So I do meditate.
Yeah.
I love it. If I don't do it, I might, because it's my moment, right? To kind of
Yes.
like calm down,
Yeah.
see how I'm feeling. I did Vipassana meditation. If I don't do it, I know it's going to help me calm down because I'm like very hyped sometimes.
Yeah.
So-
So when you meditate, when you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, right? Your vagus nerve is getting nice and toned, and you're moving from that fight, flight, freeze to rest, digest, create, strategize, and manifest. Like you can't manifest when you're in that fight, flight, freeze state. And there's science behind it. That's why Burn Your Shit is full of scientific stuff. It's not all just gobbledygook woo woo, but there's a bit of that too. But the idea that there are neuroscientists who talk about it, that when you're in, again, a regulated state and you are writing down your intention or speaking your intention, you're putting physical action behind just like, oh, I really want this. You are then training your brain. You're creating new neural pathways. And then you start, it's like when you're in a crowd and someone says your name and you're like, oh, and you just look and, right? It's kind of like that. You go through the world more aware and open to those opportunities or those breadcrumbs that get you towards what you're manifesting, because you have initiated that practice from the right sort of headspace. So that's an example of sort of like the magic of manifesting with like the full-on science that backs up. They may call it something different, but it's the same outcome. So however you get there, like whatever floats your boat, but know that there is absolute science backing the stuff that seems pretty out there.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. And I also, for me, as I've, developed my practice and figured out what works for me, and it's always evolving. I'm changing my practice, how I think about things, how I look at things, what I'm bringing into what I'm doing all the time. But there was a long period of time where I would just say to myself, I don't know what this is, but I know that when I sit down and I pull cards and I pull out my journal and I start to write things down, I feel better. It makes me think about myself. It makes me be intentional, sort of what we were talking about with the new moon and the full moon. And that for me, I was like, if that's all this is, that's okay. That's enough. Because the cards give me something to focus on. And then I filter that through what's going on in my life. And it helps me be closer to myself. And then later, I got into the weird shit. But at the beginning, I was just like, okay, these might just be paper cards, and they're giving me a symbolic hit, and it's allowing me to access my creative brain and think about my life, and that's great. And then, over time, it became something different.
Then she started dancing naked under the full moon.
We said we weren't going to talk about that.
Can I pull a card for you? I forgot to
Yes.
say, I said, okay, I'm going to stare at you kind of awkwardly while I shuffle the deck here, okay? And I'm just going to ask what you need to know right now. I'm not going to ask about your questions so much because there's definitely something else you need to know.
Oh no, like just general.
Freestyle? Let's do it. Yeah, Tarot's going to tell you what you need to know anyway, not necessarily what you want to know. Okay, what's your first name?
Ellen.
Ellen? Okay, what does Ellen need to know right now? Okay, so you got the Seven of Wands, and it's this guy standing on a like a cliff, and he's got all of these wands coming up to whack him, and he's above it all. He's fending them off, and it's about basically, long story short, you need to rise above everyone else's bullshit. Okay, because all of these sticks are coming up to whack him. He's above it literally. He can handle it. This card is asking you to rise above figuratively and be the Zen Buddha mama and just let that garbage roll off your back. I'm covered in goosebumps. Don't let people push your buttons to get you to engage. Don't let them drag you down in the drama and the low vibe energy that's not even your business, because then you're outnumbered and the target's on you. Right? So it's asking you to be the grown-up, be the mature one, which can be difficult if you're surrounded by a bunch of ding-dongs. But there is always a moment between when we receive something and we respond to it or react to it. And you can draw that moment out and diffuse it by just thinking to yourself, well, that's an interesting point of view. All right, well, that's your opinion. You know, it just kind of breaks the connection. It reminds you just because someone's saying something doesn't mean it's true. It's an opinion. And our opinions can be like, whoop, and that's fine, that's life. You know, we don't have to be on the same page. But you can never say it out loud because it always comes out like, interesting point of view, you dumbass. So you have to be like inside voice, right? So it's like if someone were to say, oh, what did you do to your hair? You know, you want to be like, "Urgh," to instead just like, all right, well, those are words. That's an interesting point of view. So that's what you want to know right now. Does that track?
Have you been living with me in the past month?
That's tarot, baby.
She knows.
Hashtag
I'm
tarot
so
knows.
tired of like all of this fake news, everything that is going around instability, and just people taking advantage of other people. And I'm the person that speaks up. So kind of like, yeah.
Yes, you're up here.
And it doesn't mean that you don't stick up for yourself, that you don't have boundaries, right? It's just not letting people activate you, not letting people get their hooks in and drag you down to the bullshit drama that's not your business.
Thank you.
Love
And
it.
scene.
Love it. Yeah, a round of applause for sure. Okay, I think we have
Thank you for being
another
brave,
question. Yeah, okay.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Al.
Hey.
I have a question about tarot and astrology and zodiac signs. I see a lot of tarot readings online, and it's like the collective Taurus or the collective Virgo. Like, what does that all mean? And can it really resonate for every single zodiac sign that's watching it?
Well, I think, first of all, does it resonate for you?
All the time.
Right? So I think one thing that's interesting, I love astrology. I'm not an astrologer, but I love astrology. And I love astrologers. I don't really mess with tarot readers because they're a bunch of goofballs out there. But with astrology, it's all about patterns, right? And it's all about this fixed system and something about when this planet is in this position in the sky, and it just sort of tells your story within that pattern. And also look for your rising sign, which is often resonates a lot more than your sun sign. Sun, moon, and rising are like the big three. And tarot's the same kind of thing. These pictures on these cards represent archetypes that have been woven throughout humanity forever, and they're stories that we've been living out forever. And so that's why when I pull a card and I'm like, damn, this is just for me, and then Megan pulling the same card going, holy crap, and then you're watching on Instagram Live, oh my God, it's my card. That's why it resonates with all of us in a deeply personal way. I always say tarot is what the hell do I say? I can't remember now. It's specifically random and randomly specific. And I think it's sort of the same for astrology. Thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm the same. I'm not an astrologer, but another guest on the podcast, Colin Bedell, who is an astrologer and who's fabulous. He's Queer Cosmos on Instagram. I had a reading with him, and he said to me, you're born your moon sign, and you use your rising sign to embrace and move into your sun sign. And I found that to be so incredibly helpful because my sun sign is Aries. And a lot of the time I'd be like, why am I not feeling fully like everything I'm reading about Aries? And so that explanation of so not only that, and this is what I love about the work that we do and about sort of any of this kind of work, is it gives you action items, right? And all of the action items are moving towards basically having a better life, towards loving your life more, towards being the fullest version of yourself, the sun card. And I love the idea of, okay, here's how you're born. So here's what the challenge might be. Here's what you do with your rising sign. And then you get right up to embracing your full sun sign. And I found that to be incredibly helpful. And not only that, it allows for, more movement within the sort of universal readings that you might see. Is that helpful?
Very, thank you.
Yay! You're welcome. Yeah, another one. Okay. All right, we're in the Q&A section.
Sarah's getting a sweat going out there. I love it.
Sarah's the best. I'm Daryl, and I'm loving spending Women's Day with all of you. So thank you so
much. Thank you for
Feeling
coming.
The vibes.
It's a good
Thank
coven.
you. So I'm a Capricorn Sun, Libra Rising, Pluto, or Pisces Moon, Pluto. And so the last 9-10 months I've spent on a mental health leave from working. And I'm at a place now where I'm, fulfilling my manifestation of life and where that's taking me. And there's lots of positives, but the work sort of next steps of work is a big sort of scary, anxiety-inducing unknown. And I have 2 industries that I'm debating leaning into. Both are familiar to me, and including whether I be my own boss or I work for someone else. And just the next steps are feeling very unknown, and I truly am looking for the signs. I don't know, and that's scary. So any sort of insight that you can.
I feel like you maybe want a card pull.
Yeah,
I want a
really
card,
good
girl.
idea.
You know I want a card.
And you're being super polite about it, but you could just ask. I did bring the deck. It would
Yes,
be weird if I
please.
didn't use it.
What is the card that's calling me?
I would say though, before we even get into this, and it'd be so fun if we pull the Chariot card. Then I'm a goddamn wizard, okay? But I would love you to just take some time to sit. And this is something that's in Burn Your Shit. This is an exercise. An exercise I give people is to sit and ground yourself in breath and close your eyes where no one will bug you, and just visualize taking each path and really make it a visceral daydream. And what am I wearing? And the dog is barking. And then you take a minute while you're in each path to just check in with your body. How does this one make me feel? How does that one make me feel? Because one will always feel better or less yucky than the other. So that's a really nice way to sort of get head, heart, and gut all involved in your decision making. But
I love that.
also,
Thank you.
let's pull a card. What the hell? What's your first name? Is it Elle?
Daryl.
Daryl.
It's okay.
Okay. Does Daryl need to know? Here, little tarot tip. So when we're asking this question, you want to know because we don't ask yes or no questions, because there isn't a yes or a no or a Tuesday card, right? So instead of saying is Bob the one, you'd say, what do I need to know about Bob? Or will I get that job? What do I need to know about that job? So do you want me to just, and there's no card that's going to be you're going to be a librarian, right?
Totally.
So why don't we ask
whatever you're feeling in terms of what do I need to know for next steps to make
next
that
steps in your
decision?
career?
Yeah.
Let's just say that. Okay, what does
Thank
Daryl
you.
need to know about next steps in her career? Okay. I mean, I want to pull that. Hold on.
She's going for the Chariot.
Oh, okay. Well, interesting. I mean, I pulled 3 because I don't know. But because the one was nice, but it wasn't really answering your question, but it is absolutely going to apply. You got the Judgment card, which is some bullshit, because this card showing up is saying you need to be nicer to yourself, as kind, as judgmental as we can be of other people. We're so much harsher to ourselves. So you need to tell your inner critic to zip it, because there's too much yippity yap going on. And just remember that we are not here to be perfect. We're here to be whole. And that can be a stinky, snotty, sweaty gong show. And that's okay, because that's life. And sometimes it's a messy mess. But make sure that you are talking to yourself, treating yourself with the care, compassion, patience, kindness, forgiveness, tenderness that you would extend to a child or a sibling or a best friend. So regardless of which position you're going with, you need to stop shit talking yourself, right? Yes. And then I'm going to give you 2 cards.
I think this might be resonating.
And then the second card, which is kind of cute, because you got a bit of a like a little kick in the ass from tarot with this one, right? And then the next card is the 9 of Wands, and that's where this guy is sitting there. He's like Rocky at the end of the fight, ready to go another round, and it's telling you, reminding you when things get tough, you can do tough stuff.
Yes,
and you have had to in the past, and you will have to in the future, and you can do it now. It is a card of tenacity, perseverance, sticking with it, not giving up on you, And that is what this card is doing. It's kind of like when you see people run a marathon and they get towards the finish line and their body breaks down and they're like, oh crap, and they start to fall apart. But then the cheering crowd is what gets them over the line. That's what this card is doing for you. It's like, Daryl, you can do it. You're going there. Keep going. You're so close. So you're getting a rah-rah from yourself to yourself, and also a bit of a kick in the ass to stop shit-talking yourself. Okay. So I think personally that the reason those cards were pulled is because I already told you the Chariot thing about doing that grounding exercise and then the visualizing. Yes. And then just don't get out of your own way.
Okay. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you asking. Thanks for everyone being brave to ask.
Love that. Okay. I'm gonna take it over to asking another question. So this is actually something Sarah mentioned because she there are some fabulous prizes that we will be giving out momentarily. But one of the things that Sarah noticed, and she talked with both of us about this backstage, is she went into Winter's Home Sense and like everything was moon manifesting journals and tarot this and, magic that and crystal here and there. What do you think is going on? Because I've definitely noticed it, and we see it all over. If you're on social media, certainly, you get in the algorithm and you're like, there's a lot of witches out in the world. What's happening right now? But I think there also are, for sure. What do you think is going on, and why do you think, oh yeah, here we go. There's our good old Sarah with the actual baskets. But what do you think is happening? Why do you think, and I think this is, an appropriate day to talk about this. Why do you think so many people are gravitating now towards these old practices in the modern 2025?
Yeah, people are super horny for tarot right now. I don't know if you've noticed. They have, during COVID, astrology really just took off. And tarot is sort of like a little bit, behind, but it tends, astrology is a little bit more accepted, but everything in the metaphysical space, I think, is becoming a lot more mainstream. And I think it's because although we are more connected than ever before, we have never felt more isolated and alone and disconnected. And so we are desperate for ways to figure out who we are in this world, how we fit in this world. And tarot, rituals, astrology, they help you understand who you are and how you fit into the world. They help you connect to yourself, your community, the divine. And it's something that you don't need to belong to an organization. It can be a solitary thing, but it's a way, because we've lost a lot of trust in our institutions and organizations as well. So I think that's why.
I want to very quickly just show you how bananas, as Megan would say, create your own tarot deck cards in Home Sense.
So fun.
And
Home Sense.
There's like a witchcraft.
The Mecca.
Well, Lori, I gave you a witchcraft coloring book in your little bag backstage there. But in here, you're going to get one of those as well. If you win, there's a journal for some manifesting. There is the Chariot card on the side of this. It says the Chariot card symbolizes determination and victory. Tiger's eye stones inside. It's like a reed diffuser.
Oh, I love.
And there's a little candle in there with a card on it. Everything's tarot theme. It's crazy.
It's bananas. You're right. And I love that. And if I can add to that, Lori, I think that part of what's happening is that we're really tired of the patriarchy.
Yo.
On this here International Women's Day. And I think that, as you're saying, some of the institutions aren't really supportive of everybody within the institutions. And certainly for me, with my practices, and maybe you feel the same, is it allows me to move in on the stuff that really speaks to me, that I really enjoy. And I'm talking about open practices, not closed practices, because there are practices that are not for everybody, right? Within certain groups. But I appreciate the fact that I can take what works for me within different practices and leave what isn't working for me and sort of build my own practice that really makes me feel like myself and doesn't need any kind of prescripted way of living or somebody else saying you're doing this right or you're doing this wrong. I find it very empowering, and I think that's what's going to fuck with the patriarchy.
Yes, and I think also, what we're seeing is a real rise of the divine feminine, and and that's not gender specific. Everyone has the divine feminine and the divine masculine within them. We need the strong back to have the open heart. And what I feel I'm doing with my work, and I think with you, Megan, and a lot of people, what we're doing, whether it's on a larger platform or within our communities or even our families, is I feel with my work, I'm like bringing people online. I'm like sparking a moment of awareness or the nudge, that is really just being channeled through me. Because for me, tarot, you're having a conversation with your soul. I am the interpreter. And what is happening is for so long, the divine feminine has been pursued in an effort to like snuff it out or suppress it. And now, well, I don't know how far I need to get into this. This is going to be in book 3 too, but like I get into it. But, for so long, this sort of toxic masculinity has been pursuing the divine feminine. And now the divine feminine is like rising up and saying, I see you and I'm not scared of you. And that's a big part of why everything's going down the pooper right now, is because a lot of people, particularly women, are saying, yeah, no, that's not for me. That's not the vibe.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah,
moving
next.
along.
Right?
Yeah,
yeah.
I love it.
And I think tarot and astrology and things can help to support that awareness. It feels kind of like the Matrix, where we're like, I'm going to take the whatever. I don't want the red pill or the blue pill. I'm going to have that green pill over there.
Yeah, I want to go dance naked in the woods. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And speaking to that, actually, I want to read to you all from a passage from Lori's upcoming book. You want to tell us the title again?
Big Deck Energy.
By the way, you can pre-order that book right now, and I can say it, that it is the most helpful thing you can do for an author is to pre-order their book. It really helps it get out there. It helps it give lots of legs before it gets going. So go and pre-order that. When we're done here, go on, whatever your favorite book ordering tool is and go for it. Okay, so... And I love this so much. Tarot tells you there's a place for you in this world by reflecting your world back to you. It's a tool for uncovering your natural gifts and talents, as well as challenges and limitations. Tarot readings are a jumping off point to understanding what's currently happening, as well as what's waiting for you. Tarot doesn't carry the same judgment that the rest of the world does. Each card offers positives or negatives, sometimes both. There's no assigning of blame, only observations and considerations that are offered in a matter-of-fact, impartial manner, as you observed with Lori giving the readings here. And what I love about this is it's a tool. Mm-hmm. It's a tool. I mean, it's fun. You sit down, who doesn't love getting a little witchy and like making things fun? And as you say, it's kind of sexy to do it on the full moon. Those kinds of things, anything you can do to make this practice more fun for you. But really all we're doing is getting better acquainted with ourselves and owning who we are and what we want.
Yeah, it holds up a mirror. It gives you a little peek behind the curtain to sort of see what's going on energetically in my readings from like now to 6 to 9 months out. But it's giving you a peek at the energetic landscape. And again, what you choose to do with it is up to you because you have free will. And it can be a writing prompt. It can be a tool of self-discovery, a tool of self-help.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Of what? Oh,
Pleasure. And pleasure. Yes, we cannot forget pleasure. In fact, we should put it as number 1. Okay, so speaking of International Women's Day, who is a woman in your life that inspires you?
I owe my career to Erica Von Kat, the witch who mentored me on tarot over 35 years ago. She is a legit broom-toting, spell-casting, crystal ball-gazing witch. And I think she's living like in a van in interior BC somewhere now, just doing her thing. But she was the psychic in Calgary, Alberta in the late 80s who everyone saw because she was the psychic in town. And she had all the stuff, but when she pulled out her tarot cards, it was love at first sight. And she mentored me. She helped me when I was writing a paper about witches for this women's studies class. And she taught me the spread that I use as hers. So, and what I really loved is her approach to tarot was always very fun and lighthearted and joyful. And I aspire to bring that into the work that I do. I don't want this to be scary or intimidating. I don't want rituals or tarot. I want there to be zero barrier to entry because I know how incredibly powerful and profound these are as tools. And I want people to be able to have access to them. And I mean, the rituals and burn your shit, most of them you can do on your own for free. It's nothing that requires special equipment or special powers. And same goes for tarot. You just need to practice, or you could just like flip open the book and read about the card. But anyway, Erica's the one who I owe everything to her for that.
I love it. I love it. And what about What about an historical person? Historical witches, big contributions to your work today?
Historical.
I have an answer. I have an
okay,
answer.
you tell me yours.
Yeah. I'm going to call out Pamela Coleman Smith, who is
good one. Yes, cosign.
Who is the illustrator of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which, by the way, is probably the one that most of us, at least if you think of, tarot, these illustrations are going to come into mind. And these came out in 1909. And not only that, nobody actually really knew who Pamela Coleman Smith was, because it was called the Rider-Waite deck until like 10 years ago, when people were like, wait a minute though, who did the illustrations? Turns out it was a woman.
It was a woman who had both her mother and father's name. She was a woman of color. She was queer. She was all the things. And guess what? They didn't talk jack shit about her. So yes, please.
So Pamela Coleman Smith, we love you. Thank you so much. We probably owe both of our careers to a certain degree to her.
Yep.
Okay, I had a couple of questions. How are we doing, Sarah? Are we okay? Okay. And by the way, if you really wanted to ask Lori a question, Lori's going to set up back here after we're done, and you can come up, and she's going to be, you can buy a question to ask.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do I've got a couple of books if someone wants to buy Burn Your Shit, and then we'll do
get it.
$20 and pull some cards.
Yes, love it.
If you want.
Okay, so Instagram, I put a couple of, by the way, if you're not following Lori, everybody's following Lori, I'm sure of it. But Lori will give you a tarot reading every single day, and they're phenomenal. They're such a great, it's like I have my little practice, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to see if Lori has posted yet today, because that's going to become part of like what I'm doing in the morning. And sometimes it's not in the morning.
I was going to say, Lori, it must be from the day before, because it's getting later and later. Yeah.
Well, I always find like whenever it finds me is when it's supposed to find me, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I asked Instagram if they had any questions for Lori, and here's one that I love. What circumstances led you to the path that you're on? And I guess we sort of talked about that.
We sort of did. I mean, I have a communications degree. I was a writer for many years. I've worked in...
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I worked in big businesses. And I always tell people the only reason I didn't get fired from at least 2 jobs is because I would take my clients for tarot readings at lunch. And so they love me for that, because I wasn't so hot at the business stuff. But I always did tarot. It was on the side, which is why I would always say, oh, it's Lori, tarot Lori, like the Lori that does tarot. And that's how sort of tarot Lori's stuck. And it's something that I just always did because I couldn't not do it. That's how I know I'm very lucky that my career is also my calling. And I'm my profile is raising in the last few years with the books and everything. And I'm an overnight sensation that's like 3 decades in the making.
Just like every actual overnight sensation. Right? Yeah, there's like a whole backstory. I love it. Should we move to giveaways? Do one more. Okay. All right. We do have one more question from Instagram. And you and I talked about this backstage too. And I'm so excited for your answer. Where do you think your deck's voice comes from, if it has one? Isn't that a good question? Shout out to Carrie Ann for that question.
I always talk, I don't know if y'all watch Schitt's Creek, but you know how Moira talks about her wigs? That's how I talk about my cards. And it's like my cards take on a different persona depending on the circumstances or the person I'm reading. And I just said this in the reading I did before I came here today is, sometimes it's really bossy or prescriptive. Sometimes it's very ethereal in metaphors. And sometimes it's, like a big sister encouraging you. And more often than not, it's like the cards are like, girl, we're going to make this as unambiguous as possible. So you can't talk yourself out of this. Like, pay the fuck attention. And it's really interesting because the cards deliver a message in a way that the way I'm throwing is the way you're catching. If it's very like metaphors and blah, 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 it's because that's what that person needs in the moment. So my cards do have a voice, but it's different for every single reading I do, which makes it every reading I do fascinating. Even if it's just a one card, Daryl in the audience, I'm just like, oh my God, isn't this amazing? So, But more often than not, it's like sassy.
Very sassy. And I think, I have ADHD, and I think shout out to those of us with ADHD. Oh, wow. Okay, that's Interesting.
Might just be being female. Yeah.
I think that, part of what keeps me interested in tarot is that it really is different every time. And not only that, I'm often finding something new in the card that I'm like, wait a minute, what is this brooch that I've never actually put a magnifying glass up to and taken a look at? What is this? Oh, the magician's belt. It's a snake. That's interesting. I didn't notice that before. And it keeps me interested for the brain that needs new stimulus constantly. Okay, so we're going to move to the giveaway section, and we have 2 incredible prizes to give away.
So fun.
Which one did you put the tarot reading in? Okay, that's the Women in Media one? Yes. Got it. Okay.
You also get a create your own tarot deck book.
Love
That's
it.
in both of
I
these.
think, Sarah, you need one of those because you've mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah, we're
think
going to
you
go to
want that
winners and stock
We're
up for
gonna get
Sarah.
one for
after.
I've got
Sarah's.
witchy friends. I'm good.
You do. You really do. Okay. So this we'll do this one first. This is the Women in Media Network merch. And again, if you love the stuff that you're seeing for the merch, you can support the London Abused Women's Centre and grab some of this merch for yourself after we're done here. So I'm trying to think of what the question's going to be now. Do you have a good question, Sarah?
Name one of Lori's favorite 3 cards.
Oh,
Your hand was up first. I'm coming to you. Tell us your name too.
My name's Laura, and the Sun and the Death card and the 9 or 10 of Cups, right?
Right? Because who knows? Who knows the number? Bonus points.
all
Yay.
the prizes
And
for
Megan,
Laura. Amazing.
you put a reading in there, correct?
Oh, yes. And so I also have a 30-minute reading in there, and we can connect on Zoom. Yay.
So fun.
Okay. So the next giveaway is, what we were referring to with Sarah. And if you were listening, what is the card that is on the diffuser in this prize pack?
The Chariot, you said.
Yes.
You know what's crazy?
What?
When I was telling Daryl about that exercise to sit, ground yourself, visualize each path, that's the Chariot.
I know. And I was thinking to
freaked
myself,
myself out.
I know what's coming. So fun.
Dang, okay.
Okay, so I love you. Thank you so much for coming out today and making the drive. It's always fun to talk to you, and your generosity and your beautiful, empowering spirit it's a delight to be around.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for celebrating International Women's Day. Thank you to the Women in Media Network. Thank you to you and your beautiful, beautiful brain and everything that you're making in this world. And when I said you, I meant Sarah, if you're listening to the podcast after the fact. And I think that's a wrap. Here's to building an enchanted life.